Welcome back. On this lesson, as we promised, we're gonna practice more with loops and we're gonna do some new exercises and we're gonna try some new concepts as well. I hope you're excited. So let's get this party started. This time we're gonna use a prompt we haven't used for a long time. Let's say let number equals prompt. We open parentheses, opening brackets, and we're gonna ask them to enter a number. So we're gonna ask them for a number. We'll put the number inside and then we're gonna show them the multiplication table of this number. Let's save this and we see here enter a number and see its multiplication table. If we put 5, then we press OK. We'll console log it at the moment, but we have to anticipate that they might as well put something else aside of a number right here. Yeah, let's see something. Console.log type of number. So we save, and if I say here no and press OK, we get that type of number was a string. Yeah, let's run it again, and if I press here 8, okay, we get the type of number is a string. Still, it's not a number. So this happens because if we let the cursor on top of this, we see that always the answer of a prompt is a string. So if I write here 8, actually it gives number equals 8 inside quotes, and we want to take this 8 and unquote it, make it a real number. So how we can do that? Let's actually keep a comment here by putting 2 slashes, and we say convert the input to a number. We say here number equals parseInt, and inside we put the variable number. Yeah, what parseInt does is exactly what we need actually. It takes the string and it removes the double quotes, yeah, and it's turning it into a number. Let's try now. Control S to save. If I put 8 here and press OK, we see that the type of number is now a number and it's not a string anymore down there. Let's see what parseInt means. The parseInt function converts the first argument to a string, parses that string, and then returns how you pronounce this now? Oh my goodness. I've only seen this word written. I know what it means, but I don't know how it's pronounced. So let's see here.
Integer. Integer.
This is very difficult for a Greek guy to say. So it takes actually the number and it returns actually a number or not a number. So the int comes from this word. So we remember it. It's parseInteger. Let's go back to our coding though. So now we're gonna say if we have to still check if what they wrote in there it's a number or if it's anything else. There are a lot of possibilities if it's not a number. Let's write here what else it can be, yeah? So aside of a number, what they write in here, it can either be a string, a boolean, a null, a symbol, undefined, or a big int. So you're gonna ask now what's a big int, yeah? Of course. So a big int, it's actually a big integer. I find this word all over me right now. Let's Google it. It's numeric values which are too large to be represented by the number primitive. So it's huge chunks of numbers combined together, and at some point JavaScript breaks and doesn't consider them a number anymore. Let's close this and go back to our logic again. So the fastest way to see if what they put in here is actually a number, we can write a small hack and we say it's not a number, and we'll phrase it like that. The exclamation point actually means if it's not a number, then it's actually a number. So we don't have to check all of these one by one. This is the fastest way, and of course inside we have to define what are we saying about. We'll close the parentheses of the if here. So this is how we phrase it. If it's not a number, this one, then it's actually a number. So if it's a number here, we're gonna write a couple of stuff what we want to do, and then else. So what is else? It's all this. If it's not a number, it's gonna be one of these things, yeah? So if it's any of these things, we can just console.log a string. Please enter a valid number. If we were normal human beings, but we are not, and we're gonna write that wasn't a number, you filthy animal. We can test this actually by saving. If I write a number here, 8, okay, at the moment nothing happens because we have nothing inside the number. But if I write a string and we press OK, we get that wasn't a number, you filthy animal down there. So this actually works properly, yeah? And we can go on. Why I'm showing you this is that every time we write something, it's better to test it on the spot. Oh my god, man. If it works, because if we start writing, and we never test, then we'll have an error down here and we'll have no idea where the error came from. But if you run your code every now and then as you add stuff on it and you see that it works, this way you see that its small part works. And if you get an error, you know it's from the latest part you wrote. The error came from there. So now we finally are gonna define what's gonna happen in here if they give us a number, yeah? We can start by console.log a phrase like multiplication table for space plus number. And then we're gonna write finally our for loop after all this time. I will go for let I equals 1. So we start from 1. Then I is smaller or equal to 10. And then we'll go I plus plus. So we'll start the I from 1 until 10. And what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna show or print, as we say in the programming lingo, each line of the multiplication table. And how we're gonna do that? By console.log our number that the guy gave us multiplied by I. So if a person wrote the number 3, we're going here and we console log 3 multiplied by 1, then it loops 3 multiplied by 2, 3 multiplied by 3, and it goes on so forth until 10. So this way it's gonna give us the multiplication table. Let's go on and try it. Put a save here. Let me maximize this. If I write here 5, we see down there the multiplication table for 5. If I repress and I put 9, we get the multiplication table of 9, and we can do this for any number. We can even put 13. Nobody knows what is the multiplication table of 13, and we just found it right here. So I hope you enjoyed this exercise. I know we went through a lot of new concepts, but that's why we are here. I feel like this lesson took forever. Let's do a final exercise actually, but we have to avoid information overload, which means that if we learn now loops and we stop with loops here and we introduce the next subject, then you guys didn't spend enough time doing loops and you didn't learn loops in a big depth to understand them properly. You move to the next subject and then you're like, okay, I learned the new stuff, but I didn't even learn the previous stuff already. So this is why a lot of people quit programming, because they get information overload and they are like, okay, I'm not built for this. But the reason is that they just didn't spend enough time with the fundamentals. And these are the fundamentals that we do in this series. And we'll do them again and again and again until you are absolutely sure and you build a strong foundation. This is the secret. The students are not responsible for having information overload. The teachers are supposed to be responsible for that. Or you have to be super mature with yourself and say to yourself, okay, we learned how loops worked. Let's go and build 100 loops until I feel like I learned it properly. And then I'm gonna move to the next subject. But on the other side, the role of the teacher is actually to tutor you and guide you in these things. So let's go to the next exercise. What we're going to do now, we will get a number, let's say 10, and we'll go through a for loop and we will make the sum from 1 until this number. So if I put 10, it will go through 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus blah 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 until 10, and it will give us the sum of all the numbers from 1 until this number. Let's start with a function, name it sum until, and in here we're gonna use a variable called limit. So this is gonna be the limit, and then there I already call the function sum until, and we'll start with 10. So what we want to do is take all the numbers from 1 to 10 and sum them up to see what they come up with. We can start here with let sum equals to 0. We start from 0, the sum, and we'll go for let I equals 1. We start the I from 1. Then we say I is less than or equal to the limit. We say down there it's 10, and then we go I plus plus, and in here we take the sum, and what we do is a thing we haven't seen before. We say plus equals I. Plus equals I. It's kind of like we run here sum equals sum plus I. It's a fast way of running that, and as it loops the sum keeps growing. So we start with I equals 1. So sum is 0 plus 1 becomes 1 here. Then we run with I plus plus, so I is 2. So sum equals 1 plus 2. It's gonna be 3. And then we're gonna have I as 3. And we're gonna have sum 3 plus 3, 6, and so on and so forth. Yeah, let's try to see it in action. And let's go back here to say plus equals as real programmers write it. Of course, we have to console log at some point. Console.log, the sum of the first plus limit plus numbers is plus sum. And we put this outside the for loop. So we get the sum in the end. Let's run this for 10 and we get that the sum of the first 10, oh, I need a space here. These things happen. So we get down there that the sum of the first 10 numbers is 55. So if I change this to 9, everything is changing accordingly. And if I make this 100, everything works perfectly. However, how can I see the result, all the numbers adding up, and then in the end only get this console log in the end? But in between, I want to see all the numbers adding up every time the I is changing. Pause the video and think about this and come back for the solution. So what we have to do is we go in here and we put our console log inside the for loop. So every time the I is changing, it's going to be console logging. So we'll go under sum plus equals 1 and then we'll just console.log the sum. That's it. And now if I write here, let's write 10 and let's move this like that. I press save. Boom. I get 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, blah, 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 until 55. So this is the beginner-friendly way to write stuff inside the console log when you have strings and variables and mix and match them together. So now let's grab all this and highlight it and press Ctrl/ to turn it into a comment so it doesn't bother us what we do. We can console log a string by using simple quotes. I can write here, this is a string, save, and we see it down there, yeah? However, if I use simple quotes and I want to write I'm Thanos, we see that the moment we write I'm, the simple quote just closed and the I'm Thanos is now supposed to be a variable because it's outside of the string and the program doesn't understand. This is why as a beginners we always use double quote instead of simple quote, because this way you can write inside I'm and you can use actually freely the simple quote, and this works. Yeah, the problem though comes when you wanna write double quotes inside your string, because if I wanna put on double quotes the word Thanos, then immediately the string stops here and another string starts there. How can we go around this problem? So we're gonna use the backtick. Backtick is this symbol right here and it's kind of different than simple quote. Usually you can find it right here under the escape on your keyboard. Sometimes, depending what kind of keyboard you have, it could be here. However, it's backtick, this thing here. Usually now in mine, for instance, is under the escape and it's this thingy down there. Yeah, so the moment I use this, the backtick for my string, I can actually put the word Thanos inside double quotes and it's gonna show down there. This is one nice thing. And the other thing, if you noticed here, let's bring them back to life by selecting all of them and Ctrl/. The other thing is that we open close parentheses all the time and this is very time consuming and very tiring. How can we include in here variables? How we can do it inside the string is that we put the $sign and we open brackets, and whatever we write in here can be a variable and can be exactly like that. So if I have a variable here, let variable equals, this is a variable, and I put in here the word variable and I save it, we see here this is a variable Thanos. So now we're gonna turn all this into this kind of syntax. Yeah, let's go underneath for the moment and say console.log backtick and we write the sum of the first space this time and we'll go $sign opening brackets limit numbers is $sign opening brackets sum, and we can put a dot there. Let's delete these two lines. You can stay here a little bit and see the differences. So this is way faster because you don't have to put all these spaces and all these pluses, and usually you don't have the problem we had with the spaces, that you can easily forget a space before or after back there. So this looks more organic in the eye. However, it's not that beginner friendly in the beginning, because you have to remember dollar signs and extra brackets, and usually brackets we use them inside the code, and now we use them inside the stream. So this was a more user friendly thing, so you don't have to remember extra crazy symbols. But I think it's time that we start using it, because the sooner you start practice this method right here, your code will look more like a code written from a pro. So we go here and we save it, and we see down there that everything works properly. So don't worry about this, we're gonna be practicing it a lot from now on. As you know, always we need to console log something, and we need to start writing things, so we're gonna start writing them like that. And of course we're gonna be practicing with functions, with for loops, with ifs, and all these amazing things we've learned. So that was today's lesson, and of course don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, so this way you're gonna get notified when the next lesson is out. So I'll see you guys next week.